Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
Hi, everyone. My name is Saurav Agarwal, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of SIERA.AI. And I'm here on the New Warehouse podcast, and I'm going to give you a quick warehouse safety tip. When we work with warehouses and work with facility managers and warehouse managers, we see that the approach to safety is reactive. What does that mean? That means audits and reviews are done after incidents, but that doesn't really prevent the next accident from happening. So what we say is that the biggest thing you can do to improve safety is be proactive about safety. How do you do that? Eliminate paper and go digital with your inspections. Use tools and technologies that can prevent accidents from happening. For example, use sensors that can alert before an accident happens in the case of a forklift. So it can tell the operator to slow down before an accident happens. And finally, if you want to improve something, you have to measure it. So if you take a new safety initiative, make sure you have ways to track and monitor that data so that you can understand the effectiveness of your safety initiative and then improve it over time.
With e-commerce off the charts, many small and growing warehouses are asking, how can I get ahead when my warehouse is barely keeping up? The answer is future-ready warehouse tech from Zebra Technologies. Warehouses can simplify and upgrade all processes, from automated inventory management to hands-free picking, with Zebra's tailored, scalable mobile solutions. They're simple and intuitive. There's never been a better time to upgrade for success with Zebra. How can your warehouse get ahead? The answer's in black and white. Get the answers at zebra.com/theanswer. That's zebra.com/theanswer. Fulfillment demand continues to skyrocket and outpace available labor. To keep up, warehouse operators are turning to flexible fulfillment solutions like 6 River Systems. Utilizing 6 River Systems' award-winning combination of collaborative robots, artificial intelligence, and operational expertise will make your associates and wall-to-wall fulfillment workflow more efficient. No new infrastructure, no change to warehouse layout, easy to deploy and scale, easy to train and retain associates, all at half the cost of traditional automation. Want to take your fulfillment operation to the next level? Go to www.6river.com to learn more. That's www.6river.com to learn more.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. Today's episode, I am going to be joined by Saurav Agarwal. He is the co-founder and CEO at SIERA.AI. And SIERA.AI is doing some really amazing things for the safety space in the warehouse, especially regarding forklift safety. They're actually using AI, machine learning, and computer vision as a way to prevent forklift accidents from happening, whether it has to do with pedestrians or physical objects as well. So I'm really excited about this, because I think this is really cool and it's long overdue to the industry. So I'm going to welcome Saurav to the show. So Saurav, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kevin. I am doing really well, and I'm very excited to be on your podcast. Thank you for having me.
Definitely happy to have you on, and I'm happy to be learning about SIERA.AI as well. I mean, I think it's really interesting technology, and I'm happy we're going to be able to tell more about it to the audience. So why don't you give us a little bit of a description of what SIERA.AI is exactly?
Absolutely, Kevin. So I have 2 ways to describe what we do, a short version and a long version. The short version is simply that we make sure that our customers don't fork it up. And the long version of that is that we enable warehouses and factories to streamline productivity by digitizing paper-based compliance processes for their industrial vehicles, as well as use active sensing technology like computer vision to prevent industrial vehicle accidents. So essentially, we make their forklift operations safer, more efficient, and smarter.
Gotcha. Yeah. And doing some research on you guys when prepping for the interview and looking at it. I mean, it's pretty amazing technology, and I definitely want to hear more about it. But I love the short version too. I mean, that's really good. It's smart. So I'm curious, your background and how did you kind of end up in the material handling world? I know you have a lot of background in robotics and AI and things of that nature. So tell us a little bit about kind of your journey to kind of co-found this and how you ended up in the material handling space.
Yeah, I don't recall meeting anybody ever in my lifetime who said I grew up wanting to work on forklifts. So I'm not going to break that trend. My background is I have a PhD in robotics from Texas A&M. My first degree, my undergrad, was in aerospace. So I've always been, somebody who's been working on autonomous vehicles, computer vision, AI, machine learning, those kind of things. When I was wrapping up my PhD, I got an initial grant from the National Science Foundation called the National Science Foundation I-Corps program.
Okay.
Essentially, we got $50,000 to get out of the lab and understand the market, the landscape. When we went out in the market and we had a thesis that self-driving cars are the sexy new thing, but they're really far away. Mm-hmm. But there is a way to bring that same technology into the real world faster and make a meaningful impact on the industry in the near term.
Right.
So we started looking at supply chain and started talking to major retailers and logistics companies. And over time, we learned that 1 in 6 workplace deaths involves a forklift.
Wow.
1 in 6 workplace deaths involves a forklift. And there's 96,000 accidents a year. Mm-hmm. Now, a 1 million square foot facility could have 200 to 300 of these vehicles. And every year, 1.5 million new vehicles are sold. And the amazing thing is that the industry spends about $35 billion a year on just forklift accident-related costs.
Right.
We've come to those numbers through, detailed market research from market data available on the internet openly, and we've put that together to develop a good understanding of where the industry is. Now, the thing is that COVID created demand on the supply chain that was at 2030 levels, with, dare I say, the infrastructure being at 2010 levels. In the year 2020, we got that demand in 2020. So what happened? What happened is that shipping rates, volumes went through the roof.
Right.
So it created a huge labor demand. More people coming in, more labor churn, people coming in, getting tired or injured, getting out of the workforce. And what happens is that it creates more of a safety hazard. New and untrained people come in, they cause more accidents. And then what happened after post-COVID in early 2021 is that the sales of industrial vehicles have gone through the roof. And now the industry estimates that industrial vehicle market will double to about 80 billion in just the next 5 years. Industrial vehicle, IoT market, will grow to 50 billion almost. That is more than half the size of the vehicle market.
Wow.
In 2026. Why is that? Why is that happening? It's the same trend that happened in the car industry. First, there were cars. Then there was connected devices for cars. Then there was connected cars. And then there will be self-driving cars, right? Same trend is now going to happen in industrial mobility. We're just at the beginning of connected industrial vehicles.
Right.
That in a nutshell is what has been happening in the industry. And one thing that, I'd love to, kind of drop in here is I'm not sure if you are, if you follow Jeff Bezos and Amazon, but
yeah, a little bit.
in his last annual shareholder letter and his final annual shareholder letter, Jeff Bezos had a paragraph saying, we are going to spend $300 million on new technology initiatives for safety. I'm paraphrasing. And 66 million of that 300 million will be invested into driver assistance and collision prevention technologies for forklifts.
Interesting.
And what happens when Amazon invests in something? It sets the trend, it sets the standard. Everybody else has to follow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And when everybody else has to follow, Amazon doesn't sell its technology for it. It builds for itself. So every other company comes looking in the market for a competing solution. That's where we come in. So that's kind of what's been happening overall.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty crazy, the size of the market and just some of the numbers that you threw out there in terms of, accidents. And I mean, even the deaths, it's crazy to think about. And I don't think people realize, everything that goes into getting that box on your porch, right? And there's all these hazards along the way as well. So it's really something noble that you guys are going after. I mean, they're trying to reduce that number overall, and I think it's telling what you're sharing from the Bezos letter as well, because like you said, much like we look at robotics now in the warehouse as well. Much of the precedent was set by Amazon when they purchased Kiva and took it just for themselves and, kicked everybody else out that was using it. So it's pretty interesting. And it actually did spur, a lot of other robotics companies. I know we had Bruce Welty on the show, who was one of the co-founders of Locus, and they were one of the early users of Kiva, and they got kicked out of the Kiva system. So they're like, we got to make something else. So it's pretty interesting, how that's happening. And so what really, as you're looking what to do, I guess, with this grant that you received, and your knowledge in robotics and AI and things of that nature, what really, because I can tell you're absolutely passionate about the material handling industry and the safety in the workplace now. So I mean, what really was the trigger or the turning point for you, where you really kind of like fell in love and like, yeah, this is the way to go?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kevin. So when we started by looking at autonomous material handling, like automated.
Okay.
And that's the thesis that we took to market. As we went to the market and as we learned from the market, we learned about the challenges of automation. And we also learned about what the market really needed. And we found a lot of gaps. Let me qualify that statement. PwC recently ran a study on autonomous robots in factories, manufacturing. What they found out blew my mind, and it will probably surprise you as well. They found out that 80% of the manufacturers who invested in autonomous robots within their facilities got zero cost savings. That means they got no benefit from installing them.
That's crazy.
And 38% of people who wanted to adopt automation only wanted to adopt it because they wanted more safety.
Right.
Yeah. So safety is a major driver of automated lift trucks, adopting automated lift trucks. But 80% people who got automated robots, automated lift trucks, got no cost savings. Why is that? The reason is that whatever automated solutions we see in the market today, I would say that they're kind of generation 1 or 1.5 solutions.
Yeah.
Right? What do I mean by that? And I'm not talking about the Locus Robotics and the Kiva systems, because they're good, because they're in the kind of the e-commerce domain. They're more handling the each pick or the guided pick, or goods to person to goods kind of application, which is great. I'm talking more about lift trucks, about forklifts, about pallet movement, which is huge. There's 2 billion pallets in circulation. There's 1.5 million forklifts sold each year, and autonomous forklifts don't have any meaningful number of sales in that. The thing is that to make a truly autonomous forklift, you need a lot of AI. It has to be very smart. It has to be able to go inside a truck, pick up something, and then it has to be able to go outside the truck, go into a shelf, put something onto a shelf. Yeah. But I call that end-to-end automation. That doesn't exist today. There are companies that solve parts of it. Now, if you look at the known names, Seagrid, Vecna, they're doing a good job of solving a small subset, which is robots that solve one problem, like move from point A to point B, go in a circle, go in a fixed path, essentially.
Right.
To adopt those kind of solutions, the customer has to change to adopt those robots, their process, their workflow. That's why they don't get the cost savings. These robots are expensive, 100K to 200K. So in a nutshell, to summarize, the robots are expensive that are in the market today. They're not truly autonomous. And the customer has to adopt and change their workflow to use the robot, which doesn't really give them the benefit that they're looking for. And that's our model is changed. We look at the market from the point of view that the market has a problem today, which is they want to improve safety and efficiency. See, the two pillars of productivity are efficiency and safety. You can ask any operations person in warehousing or manufacturing, what are the two pillars of productivity? Efficiency and safety. If you're efficient, but you're killing or injuring people, you're not really being productive.
No.
Or vice versa. if everybody is safe, everybody's safe and nobody's doing, then the best thing to do is nobody does anything. They just sit around and nobody gets ever hurt ever, right? Zero efficiency.
Yeah, wrap them in bubble wrap.
Right? Bubble wrap, right? That's what I like to say. Put everybody in bubble wrap. The reality is productivity is a multiplier it's a multiplication of efficiency and safety. So we attack both of them. Efficiency through digitization, safety through collision avoidance. And that's how we bring accelerated productivity to our customers.
Very interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting perspective there too on, you mentioned the zero cost savings when companies are investing in this automation, but reality is like what they're looking for is either they're looking to deal with the safety issue, make things safer, or they're trying to deal with labor shortage issues as well. So it's pretty interesting. And, like you mentioned earlier on, even touching on the labor shortage point, training due to spikes from the pandemic and things like that, training has been reduced or maybe accelerated or fast tracked, which has resulted in higher safety incidents because they're not getting the proper hands-on training, or maybe it's rushed because they just need to get bodies in place and do what they need to do to meet customer demand. So it's really interesting how you guys have kind of taken the approach and then pivoted a little bit to attack this safety issue, which I think is a huge one that's out there. I mean, I'm an operations manager myself by day, and I'm in charge of safety for my facility, so I certainly see some things. But I think the technology is really interesting, and I think the approach of not only, because I mean, looking at collision avoidance, I mean that's a huge thing in itself, but the fact that you guys have thought outside of that as well to encompass the whole safety and compliance kind of ecosphere and make that automated is really, really smart and really forward thinking, I think, in taking the whole suite and doing that. So let's talk a little bit about the technology itself. I mean, obviously the collision avoidance is like the big thing, right? The sexy thing you guys offer, I would say, right? So talk to us a little bit about collision avoidance and how does that work? And it's not just for automated fork trucks, right? It's for all fork trucks. So tell us a little bit about that and how it works.
So the way that we do safety is we can bolt on our safety to any existing human-driven vehicle. That means we make the human safer. It's not just about autonomous lift trucks. Autonomous lift trucks could use our safety technology, but our core area of expertise is how to make the human-operated vehicle safer, because that's the majority. Right? Now, how does the technology work? So we use something called machine vision. Machine vision is very different from what you may have heard of in the industry of, LiDARs or lasers. LiDARs and lasers see in 2D. Machine vision sees in 3D. LiDARs and lasers don't really understand what they're looking at. They just measure distance.
Right.
And you have to do a lot of work if you want to make sense of what you're looking at, and you have to use expensive 3D LiDARs. We use machine vision combined with AI, which can actually understand what it's looking at. Is it looking at a person? Is it looking at a rack? Is it looking at a dustbin or trash can? We can figure that out. And what the system does is it understands how far something is, how fast the vehicle is moving, what is the driver doing, and then it uses that information to calculate whether it should, alert the operator, and in certain situations, slow down the vehicle to a safe stop. It depends on what the customer wants. Some customers want the vehicle to maybe slow down to, let's say, 2 miles per hour. If you're within 6 feet of a person, and then stop within if you're like a foot of a person. Some customers want something else. So all of that is fully configurable from what we do.
Interesting. So the technology itself, because if I understand correctly, it works with any forklift, right? It's kind of like a bolt-on thing, correct?
We'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Bolt-on thing, yeah, you can have a Raymond, you can have a Toyota, you can have a Crown forklift, any forklift.
Okay, that's great. So then as it senses, and you mentioned it's the machine learning, so what is the setup like, or is there a setup like, does the machine learning device that you bolt onto the forklift now have to learn the warehouse that it's in, or is it you bolt it on and it's good to go?
Bolt it on, good to go. It doesn't need to learn the warehouse.
Interesting. So implementation is pretty simple, it sounds like.
Yes, implementation with our new technology is very simple. You basically bolt it on, it powers up from the forklift. It takes the power from the battery or whatever electrical source you have in the forklift, same one that you would use for any lighting, strobing system. And it goes. It's cellular enabled, so it connects to the cloud, and you don't need to do any IT setup at your own end.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So I think too, I mean, when you talk about the collision avoidance, and you can tweak it, it sounds like, to whatever your threshold is, like how close do you want to get to a pedestrian. But when those types of things happen, because you mentioned earlier, kind of in the beginning of the show, oftentimes safety is very reactive, right? So oftentimes as a safety manager, we have a collision, somebody hits something, or something happens, and then we react. We do a report, we investigate, determine, root cause analysis. How can we prevent this in the future? So when it detects that either there's a pedestrian or there's an object or something of that nature, does it take any kind of data at that point? Does it take a log, or does it create an alert so that you can still, I guess, go back and make corrective action and at least talk to the operator if they need to be retrained or anything of that nature?
All of the above.
Okay. So
it logs the data, gives you the alerts, also gives you analytics about safety scores, tells you the sensitivity of the incident, low, medium, high, fully configurable.
Gotcha. Very interesting. And then at the time, what does that data look like? So when something happens, it's coming up. I mean, I watch your video, ProMat DX, the product demo, and I saw the forklift is coming out of the aisle, and the person is like right there, and it just stops. So at that moment, what happens, and what type of data is collected so that you can look at that later as a manager?
There's a lot of different options on the data that can be collected. So including, proximity, including a snapshot of the incident itself, like a visual log of the incident.
Like a picture, like a photo?
It depends on what the customer wants. Could be video also. And finally, it also logs how critical was the situation. Like, was the driver driving very close and the human just jumped in the way? That would be considered a very risky violation, right? Risky issue. So it can log all of that.
And now a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Supply Chain Mavens. The past year has been full of fascinating and complex supply chain news, from shortages and forecasting challenges to issues with COVID-19 test components to the never-before-seen speed to market of the vaccine. In the past year, logistics and supply chain professionals like you have been nothing short of miracle workers. Supply Chain Mavens helps your team to continuously improve by developing tailored training solutions to enhance your team's competencies so they can successfully work across all aspects of supply chain. They offer exam preparation for the coveted APICS, certified in logistics, transportation, and distribution designation, as well as education in topics across the supply chain. Visit them at supplychainmavens.net/new warehouse to learn how they can help you advance your team's performance. That's supplychainmavens.net/new warehouse. Now back to the show. Interesting. So I mean, that's really good. And I think that the fact that you can take photo and video as well is even better, because oftentimes, you mentioned like a 1 million square foot facility. You can't be everywhere in a 1 million square foot facility at once. And oftentimes, you don't certain places cameras don't reach because the racking's in the way, things of that nature. So you can't always get the best view of what's going on. So if you can get that at the moment visual, it can definitely help you to understand. And now in terms of like tracking of the operators and things of that nature, is the operator logging into something? Like how do you know that, say, operator Bill, right, had an incident, and I want to know how many incidents has operator Bill have? Is it tracking the people that are operating as well, or is it just the machine that's being tracked?
Both. So the people get added as operators into the system, into the dashboard. So you add it in the cloud on the web, and the devices sync. Then the operator simply puts in their badge number or scans a badge and enters, and does the checklist. And it's now kind of logged that this is the operator who did the checklist. This is the operator on the vehicle. Now, even if the operator doesn't log in, we can still monitor everything, track everything, and even take a snapshot of the operator so that you know who was on the vehicle, even if they chose not to log in.
Gotcha. Interesting. So even you can even take a picture of the operator. So how many cameras, I guess, are actually on the machine then at this point?
That's a little proprietary information. Multiple vision sensors on the
Okay. All right. All of the above, right? Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really a smart idea, and it's very comprehensive on what's going on. I mean, it sounds like you guys have thought about, every point of a potential accident that you would want to collect and see is really important. So I'm curious, what does the device itself, I mean, is it substantial in what it looks like, or, how much are you adding on to your forklift itself?
So the device, the screen itself is smaller than an iPad.
Okay.
See here, and it's a touch screen. And then the camera device is about the size of, let's say, an iPhone 11, the vision sensor.
Oh, wow.
And the computer itself is again the size of a, iPad mini or something. I'm using iPad because it's a common item. Everybody, understands what it is. So that's about it. I mean, really.
Wow. So it's pretty incredible. I mean, so tell us a little bit more about it. I mean, tell us like some of the, I guess, customers you have and some of the successes that they've had from it.
Absolutely. So in 2020 alone, Kevin, we prevented 11,000 incidents, and we collected 4 million data points. Customers include, and it's on our website, Geodis Logistics, Tyson Foods, JBS Meats, Granger, Ken's Foods. They're all our customers. We have customers in manufacturing, in distribution, and third-party logistics, and food production. So we're spread out across multiple domains in Industry 4.0. The cool thing about our technology is that as a company and as a technology, as a product, we are agnostic to whether you're a manufacturer or a third-party logistics warehousing player. If you have an industrial vehicle, if you have a building and you have an industrial vehicle going around that building, you can use SIERA.AI. You can use SIERA.AI to make your processes more efficient. You can use SIERA.AI to make your workplace safer. And long-term, you can use your industrial vehicles combined with our technology to monitor and improve your workflow. That is a new concept that we're working on. We have not rolled it out yet, but essentially our system can capture data to help our customers understand the throughput of material from point A to point B in any part of the facility. Give them heat maps of where there's choke points. Give them flowcharts of how things are moving. And that enables them to decide based on data where they need to maybe move materials from one location to another. Or maybe this is the place where it makes most sense to put an automated vehicle because that's where there's the most repetitive motion and point-to-point transport. And that's how, using data and analytics, our customers get a benefit by working with SIERA.AI.
Definitely, yeah, and I like that it's, like I said before, I mean, it's comprehensive in the safety part, but it's also, interesting how you guys have thought of the productivity aspect as well, which I think is important because a lot of times, people unfortunately sometimes they'll put the productivity above the safety, which is unfortunate. But
that's the dirty secret of the industry, right?
Yeah. I didn't. Did I just give out the secret? I shouldn't have done that, right? So, yeah, I mean, you got to think about that. And I think that, the fact that you guys are attacking it from both sides really, really helps to push the industry forward and help the technology go forward as well. So, we focused a lot on the collision prevention, but there's also other offerings that you guys have as well. So talk to us a little bit about that and how it kind of, I think, relates back to you talking about the digitizing of records and things of that nature. So talk to us about some of your other offers as well.
Sure. So the thing is that OSHA and most other regulatory bodies in other countries mandate that you have to do a pre-shift inspection for an industrial vehicle before you get on it, right? Mm-hmm. Most of it is on paper. We estimate roughly between 3 and 4 million paper checklists are done each day in the country. And what happens usually is that if there is no paper available, the operator will not do the checklist. They'll jump on the vehicle and drive it, and then they'll come back. And then maybe they'll find a sheet lying somewhere and they'll pencil whip it. They'll just mark, okay, and submit it. Or they'll do it on Friday. So there's a lot of inaccuracy, a lot of gaps in compliance. So what we do is we sell two products. The first is S3, SIERA.AI S3, the SIERA.AI safety system, S3. That's for collision avoidance. We already talked a lot about that. The second product that we sell to solve the compliance and digitization problem is SIERA.AI S2. What S2 does is it's a bolt-on device again. It's a 15-minute install. It's cellular connected. It's a touchscreen. And what the customer can do is they can bolt it on into any vehicle, electric, propane, electric forklift, gas forklift. And the operator can simply walk up to it, do the checklist, and drive about the vehicle as if there's nothing has changed. This system not only logs the checklist, but also records impacts, monitors impact. So if there is a G-force detected, the customer can configure settings for like what is a low impact, medium, high, and it logs that information and sends it to the cloud for analysis. So at a very low cost, we are able to make our customers' operations smarter by digitizing their paper-based compliance. So eliminate paper. What does that mean for them? No more time is spent trying to text or call to find information. Everything is available with one click. And if an inspection fails, the right person automatically gets an email alert saying the inspection failed. This is why it failed.
And so if it fails, does it then lock someone out from using the machine?
It tells them not to use it. The locking feature is something that the customer can buy from us, but that's something we are releasing in Q3.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's in the works.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really good because, this, like you said, the paper checklist is, I don't know, it's hard to have the accountability and, dedicate the resource and the time to audit it throughout the week and make sure that people are doing it. And like you said, it's very easy that, someone on Friday just fill it out, I guess everything was okay,
Biggest thing is, Kevin, how much time do you really have to audit? If you have 50 forklifts and 50 checklists and 3-shift operation, that's 150 checklists in 24 hours.
Right.
Do you really have the time to go through each checklist one by one? There's bound to be human error. You will miss, not because you want to, it's just human error. It happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I've certainly experienced it firsthand. I mean, you have someone, they come and they report an issue with the forklift and you check the checklist from the day before and that morning and nobody said anything. Everything said okay. So it's interesting. And I think that, digitizing it certainly makes it easier to track as well. Because even if you take the paper checklist, like you said, there's, 3 to 4 million a day, something like that getting done. You have 50 forklifts in your operation. You got like 50 checklists, and where are you going to store them, and what are you going to do with them? And you do store them. Are you even going to ever go back to them? Are you going to put them in a digital record yourself in a spreadsheet somewhere? I mean, that's all time consuming. So, yeah. So I mean, the fact that you're able to just do it digitally from the beginning of when the person actually goes on the machine is certainly a good thing. And I think the feature that's coming out soon with the lockout, if it fails or something of that nature, is even better because, oftentimes you see Somebody's like, oh, I'm not quite sure, but I just want to do my job. So I'm just going to get on the machine and do it. And then, a couple hours later, you got an issue. So a really good thing there as well. So, yeah, I mean, is there anything else, any other offerings that we're missing that we haven't talked about?
One small offering that we have, just kind of part of the inspection, is that you can also use a mobile phone to do an inspection with our software. So you can slap a QR code onto any asset and then scan the QR code with your phone and do an inspection. We have that capability built in.
Very interesting. So I'm curious then too, with the handheld devices and wearable devices that people are using now in the warehouse for picking and doing the processes they need to do, being much more Android based. I mean, are you able to load like the checklist onto those types of devices as well?
Any internet connected device.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I think that's really good because then, people using the same device for everything, essentially, keep them on that. So, I like that, actually. That's a cool idea. Well, not just an idea. You guys have executed, so.
It's working, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do your pallet rack safety inspections. You can do your fire safety inspections, door safety inspections, anything that fire extinguisher, a sprinkler safety system inspection, everything physical in the facility that needs to get inspected that today you might be doing, weekly, daily, monthly paper logs could be digitized.
Oh, wow. So it's much more than just the forklift checklist.
Yeah. It's more, it goes beyond forklift into facilities and facility assets. Wow. So that's something that, you can do too. It's a new offering, relatively new, but you can use it.
Yeah, that's really cool because then I'm thinking, I guess my immediate application in my head goes to like, a manager that's closing the warehouse like for the day, having to go check the doors. There's some like accountability there because I certainly had experiences where the closing manager leaves the door propped open or something of that nature. And then someone's got to go back later and fix it. So, being able to have that accountability and check and, I think that people, they miss those things because they're the quick things to kind of cut from your day if you're like tight on time or something like that. But having that log and being able to see that data when you're supervising somebody or managing somebody, ensures that those important tasks are getting done because someone else is able to see that you're not doing it. So I think that's a really, really cool idea. And I'm happy you guys are offering that now as well. So I definitely want to check that out. So, you mentioned that, there's a few things that are coming up for you guys that are going to be releasing. So you guys are obviously still developing even more on the great offerings you already have. So I'm curious, can you tell us some other stuff that's coming up next for you guys and what's kind of in the future?
So we believe in the ability to give our customers the latest and greatest, like a SaaS company, like a software as a service company.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. So whatever we develop gets shipped as an over-the-air update wirelessly to our customers. So they have the latest. We don't believe in the philosophy that a sale should be one and done. It's a very interesting saying from Salesforce. Prior to Salesforce, companies like IBM would sell a server rack, and because most of the money was made up front, they would really not provide good customer care.
Interesting.
And because the customers were locked into those server racks, it's not something you can replace. They had no option but to stick to them. So it's not a good customer experience.
Yeah.
A lot of that, we see that in the forklift industries. Companies sell, a machine, you're stuck with it. And the machine doesn't evolve and change over time, but the business, the people, they're all evolving, changing. It's very dynamic.
Right.
So when customers end up working with us, they get a technology that is evolving and changing with them. For example, if you want to create a new checklist, you just log into the dashboard. You create a new checklist and you push save, and it gets sent to all the devices. Now all the devices have it. You can create a checklist in one language and it will auto-translate to multiple languages.
That's cool.
Right? If one customer says that, I think it would be a good feature to have, maybe on the user interface, maybe the font should be larger. We can quickly test that across multiple customers and then ship an update to all customers, making the font size bigger or giving them the ability to change font size. So I'm just taking a very minor example, but the smarter example here is we can learn from the vision system how a person looks like in different kinds of PPE, for example, and make sure that our person detection accuracy is high so that we can prevent pedestrian collisions.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we do, and we are working towards launching the market disruption that we will cause next year with our second generation self-driving system, which will completely change the way companies think about automated mobility in the warehouse. That's going to be the game changer.
Interesting. So you said self-driving. So this is actually taking, I don't know how much you can share, but so this is actually taking like a standard forklift and making it self-driving. Is that what you're alluding to, or?
There's not much to share on that front right now, but all I can say is that we have great relationships with major manufacturers of forklifts, and we have great technology, and we can put those two things together to launch a product into the market that is going to be much more cost efficient and productive and smarter than whatever is out there.
Very interesting. Very exciting too. So you definitely will be coming back on the show to tell me about that, without a doubt. So I'm curious too, in terms of, because a lot of the stuff is it's relative to some of the telematic solutions that are out there now from some of the forklift providers, but it seems very much more in depth and further and more comprehensive. So, I mean, what are some of the differentiators you think from someone who might be listening who says like, oh, we have something like this already with this manufacturer, but what is kind of the more competitive advantage for you guys?
So I'm not afraid to take names. There's InfoLink, there's iWarehouse, there's PowerFleet, there's ShockWatch. There's several solutions in the market that have been there for a while. What happens with any big companies, they get complacent over time. And they really stop shipping good updates to their customer. And they've shipped systems that are boxes that don't change or evolve. Once they ship it, it doesn't change. It doesn't evolve with the business.
Right.
You get what you buy on day one and you keep paying a subscription fee. Well, why are you paying a subscription fee when it doesn't adapt and change or improve over time?
Right.
So these systems, they don't prevent collisions. They only do the checklist. They monitor an impact by recording an accident with a G-Shock, but they don't tell you who was on the vehicle. They don't tell you why it happened. To install these systems, we have heard of customers crying about, it took them 9 months to get IT to give Wi-Fi access and go through all the firewalls and securities to enable these systems to work.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting, and I've used some myself, and like you mentioned, you guys take it kind of a step further, and I think you have a great point about the subscription service. Like, why isn't it updating? And it just kind of makes me think, like, if Netflix only had 10 movies and never updated it, like, why
would you pay $10 a month to Netflix? So you're buying a subscription service for a device, but what are you subscribing to?
Yeah, absolutely. So very, very interesting stuff, and really, really exciting for the safety space. I mean, I think it's super innovative, and I can't wait to see how you guys evolve even further, and what's coming next with this self-driving technology as well that you mentioned, and hopefully we'll get you back on the show to talk about that in the future as well. So if people are interested, how can they find out more information about SIERA.AI?
So first thing they can do is they can go to our website, www.SIERA, that's SIERA.AI.
Okay.
And that's the best place to go find information, get in touch with us, contact us. We have many videos. If you want to just see our product working, just jump over to YouTube and search SIERA.AI. And there's a lot of videos we have. And if you wanted to, get more information and you're in a rush, just call us at 650-400-3184.
Okay, great. And we'll put all that information on thenewwarehouse.com as well. And we will also put some videos up too, because it's very cool. And I mean, the way it stops is it's incredible. Watching the product demo from at the X, I mean, it's really great, and I was going to say it's impactful, but it's not impactful because you don't make the impact. So
it's impactful on the business it does that by preventing impacts.
Definitely, absolutely. And what'd you say? You're not going to fork anybody up, right? Something like that.
Yeah, we say don't fork it up.
Yeah, don't fork it up. Exactly. So Rob, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to me about your solution. I think it's great stuff. So really appreciate your time and can't wait to have you back on later on.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the new warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the new warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.